Now, of course, you have to visualize that this is John speaking. And of course, Harvey did forget to mention one thing. He was educating you. He forgot to tell those of you who don't know that May Company used to be a department store in Los Angeles. And I ought to know. All of us are a bit different. And so we see the world differently. Those who didn't know my mom might see a person of limited abilities. Those who did know her saw something very, very different. To my mom, the quality of life meant more than just showing up. It meant being engaged and in the game. Life wasn't a matter of observing. It was something more, something very much more. Giving all you can, even when what you have seems so small, was one of the most memorable and admirable traits of my mom. Growing up, we were fortunate to have her involved in every nook and cranny of our lives. And no matter how mundane the task, the bar was always set very high. And if the only thing those of us in the house happened to be doing at that moment in time was watching television, then most of the time it had to have some educational value to it. It wasn't at all unusual to find Judy up late at night watching Nightline or PBS, and more often than not, the subject was something medical. A lesser-known desire throughout my mom's life was to become a top-notch tap dancer and to star in a musical. For those of you who came in early, you may have heard some of the music that she loved. For as long as I can remember, she never veered from that. Perhaps that stems from seeing one too many musicals. Given my mom's condition, she had about as much chance of fulfilling that dream as I do, but that never deterred her from indulging in her dream of performing on Broadway. Later in life, at a questionable but often stated age of 39, my mom would continue offering help to others, regardless of the situation. But even in her later years, at that very questionable 39 years of age, she was indeed the one needing physical help, but she didn't see it that way. For her, it was always a case of leading by example and doing what you can when you can. Her physical challenges became more complex over the years. As new yet unproven medication and treatments became available, my mom constantly and fearlessly volunteered for new testing. As most of the treatments were untried, the risks were very great. Given the advanced condition of her arthritis, any treatment available really didn't hold any potential relief or offer any opportunity to change the course of her disease. I don't think you needed to be a doctor to understand that. Nevertheless, she wanted to be on the cutting edge of medicine. So the question would be, why go through the regimen required by being a part of those clinical tests? The answer? Because if it wasn't going to provide a relief and a benefit to her, it could provide benefit for someone else. That was Judy. So RA had a grip on my mom's life and restricted her abilities, but with the limited strength she had, she turned lemons into lemonade. Maybe my mom couldn't reach the top shelf of the kitchen cabinets any more than she could slam dunk a basketball, but she in her own way found the strength and the means to take on her challenges. Doing more than the bare minimum captures how she lived her life. In spite of the obvious pain caused by her numerous problems, she never let that become a central part of her character. Instead, her ability to overcome, focus outwardly, and push forward is what I remember most. It's those memories that I will treasure, but also ones we can all pursue on our own terms. There are countless little individual moments that make up how we are looked upon and defined by those around us. We might all see something different in our own unique memories of my mom, but together, we all see the same thing. Someone unique and very, very, very special.
Steve, you made John proud the way it was delivered, and John, Mother's proud of those words that you've shared. Shani, you want to come up, please?
Hello. Oh, you don't need to do that. I know yeah. My mom had a terrible singing voice. She couldn't carry a tune in a bucket, just bad. Whenever she would start singing, we would always try to get her to stop. She would, but then she would stand there with her hands on her hips and her bottom lip stuck out, as if she didn't know her voice were that bad and we were hurting her feelings. Dad's response was always, "You're gonna miss us when she's gone." I don't think many of you here have heard me sing, and I'll spare you that pain, but I had the exact same horrible voice as her. This got me thinking how much I have in common with my mom. Physically, both vertically challenged, and lately a lot of people told us we looked a lot alike, although truthfully neither of us saw that. We shared a love of animals. She actually called me up once and left me a message letting me know that my dog Peanut had called her and told her that she missed her grandma and I should bring her over to the house. Although her love of animals was really just of dogs and cats, she was still somewhat okay with me having a pet salamander and even enrolled me in reptile amphibian classes at Pierce College when I was in junior high. Not because she was thrilled with me meeting her with snakes and turtles and such, but because when I or my brothers had an interest in something, she would always encourage it. There's our mutual love of the arts and entertainment as well. Mom would pick out exhibits she wanted to see, such as Annie Leibovitz, or the last one we saw together, which was Andy Warhol, and we would go. I know how much she loved it when I took her to go see Ain't Misbehavin', not just because she loved it, but because we would both enjoy it. She was probably the only person her age, of which I'm not going to tell you, that could tell you Robert Plant was the singer for both Led Zeppelin and the Honey Drippers. Mom also had a group of good, close friends, as evidenced here today. Many of you have known me since birth or shortly thereafter. I am lucky as well by having a group of good friends, also as evidenced here today, although they haven't known me quite as long. And for those of you who ever invited her somewhere and she showed up 15 minutes early, if not more, I have that exact same gene. For all the traits that Mom and I shared, there are a lot that she had that I don't. Children were drawn to her, and she can keep that one. She actually had a memory, which the rest of us don't. She was a great cook, the go-to person for answers to any question, and she was always and endlessly positive. I'm working on this one, but have yet to perfect it. And along the lines of what John said, Mom could turn chocolate chips into chocolate milk into a homemade chocolate bundt cake with icing. I'm sure when it comes down to it, everyone here shares some quality with her. And yeah, her body's not here anymore, but she lives through everyone that knew her and those qualities that we shared. That's it.
Daughter-in-law Susie, you coming up?